guitars themselves, I guess, are you at a place, this is always a question for luthiers, that when you're coming to an exhibit like you will in October, it kind of just depends on where you are in a phase of building your next guitar, if you have one ready or not. Where will you be when you come down and join us in October?
I'll have two, I believe, maybe three, depending on the timeline of one that I'm finishing up. You know,
Uh-huh.
a lot of times I'll sort of ask the buyer if I can bring it to the festival, like
Hmm.
up to needed, then ship it to them.
Right.
The first time in about 5 years, I had the time in my schedule to build a show guitar that I
Hmm.
bring to festivals, but that quickly got bought by for Evan Tauscher's guitar collection that he started up. So
Yeah.
I'll probably ship that to him right after Louisville. I'll bring that one and then another one that Evan.
Hmm.
So
Super.
it's a new double top. I'm using a different core material, but it's built in the same way as balsa double tops, so those 45-degree slats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a different wood. You know, balsa's the lightest wood on the planet. The wood I'm using is called Polonia, and it's the second lightest wood on the planet. But it's, you know, balsa, if you try and tap on it, or it's just dead. It's just very floppy. And this Polonia stuff, it's just, it rings like a bell. If it wasn't ugly, it would make a decent soundboard material if you went a little thicker, because it is, a lot. It's not as stiff as even cedar. But
Hmm.
so I'm using that for my core materials right now, experimenting with it. So that's what that one will be. I'll be bringing a guitar that I actually built for a client. He designed a bracing pattern, and he's having me sort of build it and, you know, find the path of evolution to make it a successful, viable bracing design. So he calls that like a starburst. It's sort of based around a circular bridge patch, and then it's all sort of radial bracing.
Hmm.
Um, that one, and then this new one is a single top in my bracing design. So it's very similar to the double top in bracing. It's identical to that. And that one will be Brazilian and spruce. A very beautiful piece of Italian spruce that has all sorts of bear claw on it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice. I hope we get to see that one. That's great. I think if I share this page here, this is your website, and assuming that's what you're seeing, Tim, that's what we're looking at now. So this is your site, steisguitar, singular.com. And you've got different things here. I love to see that you've got audio samples on the page. It's always good for us to be able to check out, of course, to the point at which we have good audio on the other end at the user's ears.
For sure.
And then a little bit about you and all of that, and the pricing inquiry that we can get there. And I imagine too, linking out to your Facebook page and such, we can probably get to see some of the guitars you've built for others.
Yes, yeah. I try to post regularly on social media, but that also, goes in some pretty heavy waves.
Sure.
Um,
Oh, I'm familiar. I really have to force myself to practice the habit of getting on and
yeah.
posting updates and such. So very, very cool. Love to see the designs you've got going there and the different bracings that you've got. Beautiful, beautiful work.
Thank you.
Looks fantastic. So when you're going through the process, this is a whole process from selecting woods on. What what is that for you? Do you have a stockpile of wood that you've already got there and you're selecting? Are you selecting that for each guitar based on a client's requests?
Yeah, so I have a big stockpile of soundboards specifically. I mean, I've got probably 40 sets of Indian rosewood, some Brazilian.
Mm.
Uh, Stephen Walter gave me a set of Coca-Cola as a wedding gift, which my wife was like, "Well, that's great for me."
Well,
um,
there's another FSU guitarist turned luthier
for
who's a
sure.
great player too. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, he's an amazing builder, and amazing to pick his brain whenever I see him at festivals or head down and visit in Chicago.
Sure.
He's Yeah, he's great. But back and sides materials can cost anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousand per set.
Yeah.
So that stockpile is not as robust. So oftentimes, if they're wanting something specific, I'll order that for the guitar, let it season in my shop for a few months before I start building with it. You know, on my website, the first thing it really says is focus on playability and sustainability, which
Right.
you mentioned your student Henry's maple guitar.
Mhm.
Maple is one of my favorite tone woods. My personal guitar sitting over here is also maple.
Mhm.
It's a super sustainable hardwood. It sounds great. Violin makers have been using it since the beginning of that instrument's history.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, there's a tradition in you know Spanish classical guitars of using these tropical hardwoods, which have been over harvested by furniture makers from you know the turn of the 20th century until present day. So I try, you know, I don't refuse to build with those materials, and I have, you know, the Brazilian rosewood guitar I'm building right now is an ethically sort of harvested tree from
Mhm.
70 years ago that I purchased a few sets of.
Mhm.
Indian rosewood's fairly sustainable. It's usually used as shade on, you know, tea plantations in India, and they regularly sort of cycle through harvesting it.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, I try to steer clients when possible towards woods that are more sustainably sourced. Soundboards are a different story because they're all sort of, you know, spruce and cedar are sustainable, fast-growing trees. It's just the best material is old-growth stuff.
What else about your guitars might the viewer or someone coming to the festival want to know about?
The big thing that I've worked on, you know, I developed a sound fairly early on. That was the primary focus in my apprenticeship was on you know how to tune a soundboard and find your voice essentially.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I'll build a bracing pattern like the client who wanted me to build his bracing pattern. I'll build that and then I'll be like, huh, this still sounds like a Stice. It's
Mhm. Mhm.
tonal qualities that are similar to my completely different bracing pattern. So you know, I've developed a sound that I really like. It's very balanced. I try to have a lot of sustain. There are louder guitars in the world, even my double tops. You know, I'm not building them just for pure focus of attack and volume, which is what some double top buyers are looking for.
Mhm.
But I try to build a guitar that is very balanced, still has the ability to change color, and that has a sustain that reaches you know all the way up the neck. Um, but the big thing I've been working on in the last 5, 6 years, and I'm really happy with it now, and I'm getting the feedback that I want is playability.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's kind of um, interesting that you know, when I started building, I was already a proficient player, but my first 20 guitars were very hard to play, and it was more a result of my playing style because I've always, you know, hand injury. I've always been someone to muscle through the instrument, sort of a deal. So I
Mhm.
put a lot of work and a lot of effort into my setup, my neck shape, my fretwork, all of that to have a guitar that is as comfortable to play as possible without having, you know, buzzes from being too low.
Right.
So
Right.
I think at this point they're very easy to play instruments, and I set them up to the player. So you know, if it's
Right.
you know someone in their terminal degree getting a doctorate in performance with a big loud sound, I'm going to set it up different than you know the hobbyist that just wants something that's easy to play and they're not producing that you know super attack heavy sound.
Sure. So if after this interview, folks want to get in touch with you, probably best that they go on over to steisguitar.com and go from there, and they can send a about or contact us link or an inquiry there.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. I'm really looking forward to having you here. We'll see you here in Louisville in October. October 11 to 13 is the Guitar Festival, and I'm going to put some information at the bottom of the screen here for folks to find your website and the schedule for the Guitar Festival.
For sure. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to the festival.
Hey, thanks for doing this, and I'll talk to you very soon, Tim.
Alrighty, have a good one.
Bye.